The only two diet changes you need to reach 15% body fat are not cutting carbs or starving yourself. I recently ran a poll and most guys said their real frustrations were social life, hunger, and giving up foods they love. So after coaching CEOs and professionals for 9 years, I'll show you the two changes that'll fix all that and how you can finally shed the stubborn belly fat, and also how it keeps me between 11 to 13% body fat without starving myself or cutting out carbs. But first, here is why diets are failing you. So the issue probably isn't that you can't find the perfect diet plan or that you have zero discipline, because most guys actually say that diets clash with their work and family life, which is completely normal if you're following rigid diets like keto, carnivore, paleo, Atkins, Fast 800, shakes, Weight Watchers, and all that, which might work for a few weeks, but these always collapse against real life. See this example. This is like a viral carnivore style plate, which looks very tasty, but when you break it down, 250 grams of Scotch fillet could be 680 calories. 1 tablespoon of butter could be 100 calories. 3 eggs cooked in butter could be 300 calories. Half an avocado is about 120. The total calories of this plate could be about 1200 calories. Now it's all high protein, but it's also high fat. Healthy food for sure, but that leaves like no room for another decent sized meal in your day if you're trying to stay in a fat loss deficit. Then some guys struggle because they say, I can't eat the foods I actually like, which is true because most popular diets rely on restriction to create that deficit, but you don't have to. I'll show you why a bit later in this video. So it's not all about the food, it's also about the portion and the calorie load in your meals. For example, 4 slices of pizza is easily 1200 calories, but 2 slices with a light salad is close to half that, and it's still enjoyable. The trap isn't the pizza, it's the all in or all out mindset that most diets trap you in, which leads to the next reason that most diets fail. Feeling hungry all the time, especially in the afternoon or later at night before bed, which is common if your diet is a eat less and hope for the best kind of style where you're slashing calories too low or eating, calorie dense foods that don't actually fill you up. So for example, a handful of mixed nuts could be 200 calories. You eat them in maybe 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and you're still hungry. But 200 calories of chicken or potatoes is much more food volume, and it's actually going to keep you satisfied for longer. So it's not always discipline that's your problem. It's really the food choices and the meal structure that can make hunger inevitable. And this is the first big shift you need to make, which I'll explain next. I like to think of calories kind of like investments. You want most of them in safe, reliable assets, which are like quality protein, natural carbs, and just nutritious foods in general. But you can still keep a small slice for riskier plays, like snacks, alcohol, or whatever else, without blowing up your entire budget or your portfolio. And these 3 common mistakes all cause the same problem. The first one is only focusing on food quality while ignoring food quantity. You can still gain fat by eating clean foods like rice, avocado, nut butters if your portions are unaccounted for. Just like you can also undereat on clean foods as well, which just leaves you feeling starved and hungry all day. The second is cutting out entire food groups. If you know you're going to eat carbs in the future, then there's no need to cut them off completely today. And the same goes for alcohol, sugar, or fats. Cutting out these big chunks will cause a quick weight loss drop, obviously, and possibly muscle loss, but it's going to be unsustainable and it's going to keep you on the yo-yo cycles forever. Third thing is the weekend blowouts. Staying good from Monday to Friday and then wiping it all out with 1 or 2 days of overeating. But here's where it gets a little bit weird. Believe it or not, there's diets such as the potato diet, the cookie diet, and the beer diet, which is ridiculous, but they actually worked because they massively cut their calorie budget. So the point is, you don't need gimmicks. You just need a budget that actually works for you. Even the keto guys who say, it's all carbs' fault, can't escape this. Now, I'm not saying just eat shit every day while you're in a deficit, but you also don't need to constantly stress about good versus bad food if you know how to plan and actually budget and manage your diet day to day and week to week. For example, I like to use the 90-10 rule, which is like 90% clean, 10% whatever you want. But if you budget it really tightly and accurately, you could get away with 80-20 for days where, you're eating out or you want that dessert or a scoop of this or a slice of that. And, the best way to do that is to have a clear budget to work off. If you don't know your budget, I can give you my free calculator link. It's in the description. So this first big mindset shift is from restriction to replacement and responsibility. Instead of cutting out olive oil, swap it for spray oil. Instead of juice, eat the fruit. Instead of some flavored sugary yogurt, go for the high protein Greek yogurt. The second shift is from motivation to measurement, because motivation, it's a bit like throwing money into ads and just hoping for sales magically. Measuring is like checking the data so you know exactly what is working so you can double down on it. And this is also about letting go of the all or nothing mentality and instead objectively tracking your data. This is your calories, your protein, your body weight, blood work, photos, body fat percentages, and your measurements. And that is exactly what we monitor week to week inside my one-on-one metabolic recomp coaching. So one of my CEO clients who felt stuck with family dinners and business lunches switched to this budget mindset I'm telling you about. And he still got to enjoy some steak and some wine with the family and the wife on the weekends because he tracked it accurately. And then the fat started just dropping off consistently every week. And as a result, you can see he completely transformed his physique. This is how you stop fat loss from clashing with real life. And once this is in place for you, the next step is what makes you feel full while optimizing your muscle growth as you're dropping body fat at the same time. Think of protein like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is solid, everything else stands strong. But if it's weak or missing, the whole structure is going to be flimsy and it might crumble. So here's why this matters. In this protein study, the researchers found that the thermic effect of food when consuming a high protein diet was elevated in direct relation to protein intake when compared to a normal or a low protein diet. This elevation is an acute response and there was no carryover thermogenesis observed following prolonged high protein consumption, which means the thermic effect is only effective while you're eating a high protein diet. If the protein drops, so does the thermic effect. And this study also confirmed that the protein-induced effect on metabolism is well known. Based upon the physiology of macronutrient digestion, dietary protein costs more of its usable energy to metabolize compared to fats and carbohydrates. So 20 to 30% for protein, 5 to 10% for carbs, 0 to 3% for fats. Technically, protein gives you a small metabolic boost, but I like to see it as more of a discount because your body is just burning more energy to eat the food that you're eating. But it only works if you consistently eat enough protein. Now, the thermic effect alone will not get you ripped, but protein does support retaining and building more muscle. It also helps to slow down digestion, keeps you more full without spiking your blood sugar, and just keeps cravings under control, even balance, while providing key nutrients like vitamin B, iron, zinc, and magnesium. The problem is most men are massively under eating protein every day. They're hitting maybe 40 to 80 grams a day when you may need more like 130 to 160 grams per day to actually build and preserve more muscle, assuming your training program is good, while actually losing fat. So protein is like your foundation, but you still need the walls and the roof, and this is where satiety foods come into it. So combining protein with high volume, low calorie foods to bulk out your meals so you actually feel full while you're in a deficit. And a key part to this is your meal timing. So many guys aren't super hungry in the morning, but they get hit in the afternoon with cravings. So instead of like forcing yourself to eat like a huge breakfast, it's smarter to plan for a solid lunch and maybe a protein snack after that to bridge the gap to dinner, so then you're not eating random shit. Some guys also feel hungry later at night, which suggests that your dinner wasn't very filling, or you've got a mental habit and a routine of eating late because your body doesn't actually need more food. I mean, if it fits your budget, then a post-dinner snack is completely fine, but right before bed is not a good idea because it's going to elevate your heart rate and stop your body temperature from dropping to get you into a good long deep sleep. So the best way is to fill up your dinner plate, load it up with more vegetables or salad that is not covered in oils or butters. Use a lighter seasoning if you have to, or a dressing, that's okay, but just track it. And here's an example of how you can eat more for the same amount of calories. So 1 cup of pasta is about 200 calories. 1 cup of potato is 130 calories. 1 cup of pumpkin is 50 calories. And 1 cup of broccoli is 31 calories. Lower calorie options give you a bigger plate that's going to be more satisfying and digest a bit slower compared to processed foods. This will keep you fuller for longer. And this helps you stop that constant hunger and actually feel more energized while you're dropping fat in a deficit. So treating calories like an investment and prioritizing your protein with the satiety foods I'm talking about are the 2 key diet changings that keeps me between 11 to 13% body fat and gets my clients 6-pack lean in their 30s, 40s, 50s, even their 60s. By the way, if you are stuck in the 20% or above body fat range and you're looking to get down to that 13 to 15% body fat range with clear guidance and customization to your nutrition and your workouts and your biofeedback data, you can apply for my one-to-one metabolic recomp coaching. I can only take on a couple of people when spots become available, and the link to that is in the description. Or if you prefer to do it yourself with a routine that is going to fit within your lifestyle, you can grab the Business Body Blueprint, which has all of my proven structures and routines and protocols that are ready to plug into your lifestyle, and you can still tweak them to fit what actually works for you. Link is also in the description. Once you've done that, go watch this video next where I show you how I finally lost the lower belly fat.